Good evening, everyone. Can I get a motion to come out of executive session?
Motion.
Thank you, Ms. Wallace. Can I get a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Downs. Questions, comments, concerns? All in favor? All right, welcome to the October 11th Board of Education meeting. Now I'm going to turn over the Pledge of Allegiance to our ROTC.
To the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I would like to thank our ROTC Color Guard for what they did this evening, and they will be presenting for the pledge for the remainder of the school year at all of our board meetings. Okay, at this point, we will have the public information regarding the code of conduct. Dr. Galati.
Thank you, Dr. Tonatori. Good evening, Board of Education. So this evening, I would like to share with you some upgrades, revisions, from NYSBA, as well as recommendations discussed by our policy committee on September the 15th. Okay, so as we could see by this slide here, changes that are going to be addressed in our policy. Code of conduct will now be referred to as the Code of Character, Conduct, and Support. Section 12, student searches and interrogations, specific to subsection C, treatment of cell phones, and recommendations from NYSBA. What we see here on this slide is specific to section 12, student searches and interrogations, specific to, once again, section C, treatment of cell phones. So what you see up above is our existing policy. To our existing policy, what is detailed in red below is our revised policy. What I will share out loud are the revisions. Teachers and administrators have the right to request that cell phones not be permitted in the class during the school day. Cell phone guidance will be distributed by building leaders at the onset of the school year. In our next slide, these are recommendations by NYSBA. Section 6, Prohibited student conduct specific to subsection E, specific to examples. So the examples that are stated, specific to number 13, smoking, vaping, or display of cigarette, electronic cigarette, e-cigarette, cigar, pipe, or using, chewing, or smokeless tobacco. Electronic cigarette or e-cigarette means an electronic device that delivers vapor which is inhaled by an individual user, including vaporizers, vapor pipes, vape pens, Juul, bow, or e-juice. Shall include any refill, cartridge, and any other component of such a device. In the next slide here, these are the revisions that are taking into account specific to number 13. It is reducing commentary, smoking and other tobacco use, and use of electronic cigarettes, including vaping, including cannabis, is prohibited by law in school buildings, on school grounds, and in school vehicles. This policy reflects the requirements by law. In this next slide, this is recommendation by NYSBA. Section 6, prohibited student conduct specific to subsection H. The existing policy is addressing off-campus misbehavior that interferes with or can reasonably be expected to substantially disrupt the educational process, excuse me, in school or at a school function, or endangers the health, safety, or morals of students or staff within the school. Examples of such misbehavior are listed below. As we move to the next slide, the revision that is taking place, it's taking those 3 bulleted items and then consolidating it into a paragraph. Engage in off-campus misbehavior that interferes with or can reasonably be expected to substantially disrupt the educational process in school or at school function. Highlighted in red, these are the changes. Such misbehavior includes threatening or harassing students or school personnel through any means off campus, including cyberbullying. And then we address, for a complete definition of harassment, bullying, cyberbullying, refer to policy 0115, student harassment and bullying prevention and intervention. And we address that the Board of Education will take comments on the Code of Conduct policy for the next 30 days. The plan is posted on our board docs for your review. Feel free to send any questions, comments, concerns to the email address as listed. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Galati. Are there any board members that have any questions or like to comment on this topic?
I don't see it crossed, that subsection H. I still see the existing policy on what we were handed out. I'm just going to double check, though, on what you were sent online. Yeah, the only thing I see in red crossed out is but are not limited to. Otherwise, it lists 1, 2, 3, just like the existing policy. So I guess if you want that change, you got to do that online to how they want it to read for the revised policy.
Is there anyone else? Okay, Before we conclude, are there any comments or questions from the members of the public at this time? Okay, seeing that there are none at this time, there is an item on our agenda later this evening to approve the first reading of this policy. As Dr. Glide just reminded us, the board will accept written comments on the proposed changes for the next 30 days, at which point the public hearing will be closed. Thank you to all who have participated this evening. Seeing no additional people want to speak, I now therefore declare this public hearing adjourned at 7:17. Thank you. Move on. Okay, public comments on agenda items?
Hi, Greg Fisher, Calverton. I see on one of the items, the district is approving Dr. Kafora for Parrott University on wellness. We still don't have a district doctor, apparently, and this doesn't show that Dr. Kafora is being district doctor, right? So do we have a district doctor reviewing any policy yet? A name?
Yes, Mr. Fisher, we do work with the Baconic Medical Group, and it was approved, I believe, at the June meeting. Usually it would be approved at the reorganization meeting, but if you have the opportunity to look back in board docs, I believe the group
great.
was approved in the June
Thank
meeting.
you. Was there any particular doctor of that group by name?
I believe it was the medical group.
But not any particular practitioner?
What I would have to do is I would have to review the contract with them, and then I will be able to get you that information.
Thank you so much. Appreciate that. The other thing similar, related to that, the district does contract with the library system. The library system is cranked up again on what they call the Shots for Tots program. And I would ask that the school develop a policy saying that no money's coming from the school go towards that Shots for Tots program. The data is becoming increasingly negative on the COVID-19 shots. There's all kinds of litigation going on. There's been a lot of information just come out in the last couple of weeks. I've encouraged the library to abandon that program, and we did successfully for a while get those programs shut down around the county at various libraries and other institutions, but apparently it's cranked back up because the government has to use up a bunch of pharmaceuticals it bought. But it would be nice to put a firewall between the school and those providers, especially in the event of any kind of litigation for injury. We wouldn't want that to bleed through to the district. Of course, the library shouldn't be assuming that, and my writings to them in the past said they should have indemnification agreements from the county, the health department, providers of all sorts, whether it's Northwell or the manufacturers, and also that they should have their insurance policies expanded to give them riders to cover any injuries that might ensue. But certainly we want to protect the district and have a firewall between what the library is doing now, starting to do again, the shots for tots, and in the event there is some injury, we certainly don't want the school named as well. So thank you for your time.
Hi, I'm Sean Quinn. I'm going to get board approved for substitute teaching tonight. I just wanted to take a moment to thank this district for giving me this wonderful opportunity. I really never thought I'd get a job in the school system. I was diagnosed with autism at age 2. I really never thought I'd pursue my dreams. I just want to thank everybody for changing my life. Dr. Kerner, Mr. Kowski, my colleagues, Mr. Burke. You have always let me wave goodbye to the buses every day, and congratulations on your award tonight. We're very, very happy for you. Today I was at Riley Avenue and I got to play Kids Bop on recess. I had so much fun. The kids loved it, and the kids are really looking forward to my substitute teaching. So, yeah, thank you, everybody.
Yeah, thank
welcome to the family.
Yes.
So, okay, seeing anybody else for public comments on agenda items? Seeing there's none, we'll move on to the superintendent's report. Dr. Tortori?
Thank you, Sean. Congratulations again. It's a pleasure seeing you in our buildings. So next week is School Board Recognition Week, and since we are having our meeting this evening, we would like to formally thank the board for the work that they put in. It's tireless, long hours that they put in to help develop policy and support the school district, so we want to thank you. We do have some items that we'd like to give out. We have some certificates available, and in addition to that, a gift for each of our board members. So Ms. Reum will be handing those out now.
Thank you. Wow. Thank you.
Again, we do want to thank the board for all the work that you put in, and we truly appreciate the time and the efforts that you put in. And certainly, as we get closer to homecoming, we felt that this was in a nice, cooler day to be able to provide you with the Blue Waves blankets so that you could be nice and snug during homecoming.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Tortori. Thank you, everybody. We really appreciate it. And thank you for our dinner tonight. We really appreciated that, too.
Okay, so on our next item, we have the Blue Waves Recognition and Appreciation Awards. So I'm going to turn that over to Dr. Kerner.
Okay, thank you, and thank you for joining me. Ms. Durkowski, our Director of Personnel. Always a pleasure to work alongside you. Good evening, members of the Board of Education and members of the Blue Wave family. We are very pleased to share with you the continuation of our Blue Waves Recognition and Appreciation Program. We're very grateful to our faculty and staff for their numerous nominations of our phenomenal family members here. And tonight we are excited to share with you the award recipients for September. So when I call your name and speak a bit about you, please join us in the pathway here, and then we'll give you your certificates. And thanks to our photographer from ZE Communications for being with us this evening to take a photo or two. Okay, so tonight we're going to begin with Mr. Patrick Burke. Okay, Patrick, so I'd like to share a little bit about Mr. Burke. Prior to coming to Riverhead High School, Mr. Burke worked at Morgan Stanley for 5 years as a financial consultant. Then he started actually as a student teacher in our high school and middle school. I learned that about you today, Pat. Then he became a social studies teacher in our high school. He's been a class advisor, RCFA union representative, a member of LICSS, and a recipient of the Riverhead High School Martin Luther King Award. So fast forward, 8 years ago, Mr. Burke started his administrative career here in the Riverhead Central School District. He has served as an assistant principal for the high school and Pulaski, and he is currently in his 4th year as Pulaski principal. Patrick, I'd like to share with you what some of your colleagues are saying about you through the nomination process. Okay, let me put my list right here. Okay, Mr. Burke has been instrumental in changing the atmosphere and perception of Pulaski Street School. His vision to embrace all members of the school community in creating a safe place provides a strong sense of belonging for the students and their families and is very much appreciated. His leadership has changed the community's outlook of Pulaski Street School. Families are now eager to send their children to a school that is rich in school spirit and a quality education. Mr. Burke goes above and beyond to make our building a home. Mr. Burke has turned the building around to a more positive environment for both staff, faculty, and students. He is fair, respectful, has a great attitude, and is always giving a helping hand. So we congratulate you tonight, Mr. Burke, on your award. You have a fan club, Patrick. Okay. So don't sit because we're going to stare at you. Okay. So now I'd like to bring up Jill Tapper, Riverhead High School special education teacher. Okay, I'm excited too. So Jill has worked in special education programs in our district, including inclusion, self-contained, resource room, but feels her most valued gift to the Riverhead community was her 10 years in the BSD, the basic life skills classroom at Riverhead High School. Ms. Tapper was Teacher of the Year in 2010. She is a coach. She is a trained facilitator in restorative practices, and thank you for being a part of our core team, Jill. She's a mentor for our new RCSD teachers, and she believes that the number one goal is to connect with our students. And Jill shared with us that she hopes this quote holds true to her career. Teachers affect eternity. No one can tell where their influence stops. And I thank you for sharing that with us. Let me share with you what colleagues are saying about you through the nomination process. Jill is very welcoming and helpful. Jill assisted me so tremendously during my transition to the high school. Jill is extremely skilled in her position and has a warm rapport with her students, so congratulations to you, Jill.
Good evening. Okay, from the CSEA union, we want to recognize Frank Sherrata, our school maintenance crew leader. He's not here tonight, but Frank started as a summer custodian in 1995. Then he became a sub-custodian, and he has worked as a head custodian for 25 years. December 2021 was when he was appointed to school maintenance crew leader. He enjoys his job and feels that it takes everyone employed at Riverhead School District to support the students from the bottom up. He is grateful to all the custodial and maintenance staff for their support and feels that without their support, the journey wouldn't have been possible. His colleagues say that Frank is always finding solutions to accommodate students while maintaining a positive attitude. He is proud of his military background. He has always sought to help teachers, students, administrators, and other departments, even if it was out of his scope. He has taken the habit of going above and beyond with buildings and grounds, when this year his crew had accomplished some remarkable feats in a very short amount of time, despite numerous obstacles: moving district office, building and supporting graduation, renovating PPS and the high school South Portables, moving PPS, the athletics department, student data services department, and technology. In addition, Frank has been a tremendous help for the technology department. He has a positive attitude and always has a warm smile. Thank you, Frank, for all of your service and support through your numerous years here in Riverhead. You are one of a kind. Okay, Frank's not here. Okay, and our other award recipient from CSEA is Joanne Ramirez. She's administrative assistant for the PPS department. I don't think she is here tonight either. Joanne's colleagues say that she has demonstrated remarkable commitment and dedication to the families of Riverhead and the team members of PPS. Joanne has truly been indispensable as she provides support for so many team members, especially in times when they are inundated. Her expertise, demure, and efficiency is unparalleled. Joanne has been quite selfless in her care and concern for all, and will often put the needs of others before her own. Joanne has faithfully served the Riverhead District for over 2 decades. Okay, our next recipient, I believe, is here, Vicki Brown. Okay. Okay. Okay, Vicki works in the cafeteria at Aquabog Elementary School. Vicki is a Riverhead High School graduate, and she recently celebrated her 29th wedding anniversary. Her husband also graduated from Riverhead. They have 3 wonderful children, all whom attended and graduated from Riverhead. Vicki started working within the district as a substitute food service worker and eventually became a part-time permanent food service worker. And tonight, she'll be voted in for a full-time food service worker position at Aquabog. Okay. Vicki enjoys working at the Aquabog Elementary School, which she attended, and she gets along well with her coworkers, the staff, and the students. It touches her heart when students recognize her outside of school and say hello. She cares about the students and tries to make them smile every day. She looks forward to coming to work. She loves her job. Her colleagues say Vicki is always supportive and encouraging of our students. She takes the time to get to know them and care about them, and it is evident in how she serves them every day. Congratulations, Vicki.
So we're going to take a photo up front, and we encourage our faculty and staff to please continue to nominate your colleagues. Our October form is out, and it's ready for you, so go home and do that tonight, please. All right, thank you all very much. We congratulate our award recipients.
Okay, thank you. We're now going to move on to our next portion. Dr. Galati is going to be discussing about our DSIP and our SEP plans.
Thank you, Dr. Tornatore, and once again, good evening to our Board of Education. As Dr. Tornatore said, this presentation is with regards to our school improvement grant. So the first slide here is simply detailing an outline of the presentation, starting with school improvement, review of some basic terminology, what is the comprehensive education plan, school comprehensive education plan, representative for Pulaski, Roanoke, and Riverhead Middle School. The school improvement grant with related funding, 2022-23 priorities of district, TSI and CSI schools and strategies, district comprehensive improvement plan priorities and strategies, next steps, and certainly questions and concerns. This slide here is simply discussing that New York State Education Department has an accountability system and its classification of schools. And the classification is in good standing, comprehensive support and improvement, that's your CSI. Schools that performed at a level 1 or a combination of ESSA, Every Student Succeeds Act indicators, or a school with a graduation rate of less than 67%. Targeted support and improvement, that's your TSI school, with one or more student subgroups performing at a level 1. Districts are identified into 2 categories: in good standing or a targeted district. The New York State Education Department partners with CSI and TSI schools and targeted districts to provide support in the following areas, not limited to what is listed there: needs assessment, improvement of planning, school support, required actions, and training. The next slide is just giving you an understanding of basic terminology, what SEP, a school comprehensive education plan, is, TSI, targeted support and improvement, DSIP, district comprehensive improvement plan. In this slide, okay, so what is a comprehensive education plan? And what we see here is that the plan, it's essential that we're describing how the school or school district will increase student learning, achievement, and performance. It's an ongoing venture, okay, throughout the entire year. It's comprised of a set of goals, priorities that act as that blueprint, okay, to drive the framework. It's a process represented by the building itself, by building administration, school administration, teachers, students, staff, parents. All building and district plans are submitted to the State Education Department for approval, and the revenue funding is provided to the district to support building and district running costs such as salaries. So this slide here, school comprehensive education plans. So we have 3. We have Pulaski Street School, which is a TSI school, Roanoke Elementary School, CSI, Riverhead Middle School, CSI. The difference between the TSI and the CSI, TSI is a locally developed plan that is approved internally. CSI plans have to be submitted to the state. We're very happy to report tonight that the Roanoke and Riverhead Middle School plans have been approved in addition to our district plan by State Education Department. So the School Improvement Grant, SIG, purpose, it serves the lowest achieving schools, ensures that such funds are used to enable the lowest achieving schools to meet the progress goals in the School Improvement Plan. 2021-22 allocation was $525,000 for the schools, combined $50,000 for the district. So the School Improvement Grant, the use of the funding. So once again, taking a look at the $575,000 between the 3 schools and the $50,000 that's awarded to the district. Supports reading support, district-wide, school-wide systems, social emotional learning, benefits, leadership and classrooms, parent and family engagement, one event is our Parent University, which I invite you all to on October the 27th at 5:30, beginning with a presentation right in this auditorium. After-school programs and teaching, tutoring, mathematics support district-wide, and translation services. Moving forward, each school, as discussed, had to outline some priorities and commitments. Pulaski Street schools, priority and commitments for 2022, 2023. We commit to excuse me, deepening connections among students, staff, and community. We commit to strengthening our professional development opportunities to increase best practices. So how are we going to go about achieving those priorities? So what is bulleted there are some of the components leading to that success. So for priority 1, we have culture kickoff, restorative circles, responsive classroom framework, PTO collaboration. For priority number 2, faculty meetings as a collaborative venture, collaborative planning time, PLC, professional learning communities that have been established, and a data team. Roanoke Avenue Elementary School has 2 priorities. First priority, we commit to deepening relationships amongst students, staff, and the community. We commit to every child having intentional opportunities to evaluate and track their own learning. How are they going to achieve that? Some examples are extend opportunities for students to engage with one another, targeted efforts to increase student participation in after-school clubs, create and extend opportunities for student leadership. Priority number 2, professional development, PLCs, instructional rounds. Riverhead Middle School, 2 priorities. First priority, we commit to expose students to content and questioning they will encounter in secondary education. We commit to ensuring that every child feels safe, respected, supported, and has a true sense of belonging while in the building. And how do they plan on achieving these goals? Provide staff professional development through New York Therapy, develop common rigorous quarterlies for each subject area, I-ready assessments, vertical planning among grade levels and departments, and an after-school academy. To achieve priority number 2, recognition of student achievement, quarterly challenges, Socratic seminar, peer leaders, and restorative circles. We also have our district comprehensive plan priorities, and we have 3. To implement and put into practice the district DEI plan across the district. To develop a scope and sequence for all intermediate, secondary core courses of study to ensure vertical and horizontal alignment and articulation of learning. To finalize and to implement the district MTSS plan, which has been done, and it is in action as we speak. Some of the components leading to the achievement of these priorities. To attain priority number 1, continue with a community diversity and cross-cultural meetings, Long Island Consortium for Excellence and Equality, and DEI support through Eastern Suffolk BOCES. So Eastern Suffolk BOCES provides us with continuous support to, and they're very knowledgeable as to our district plan. We have support that has been scheduled for our administrators in January at our administrative council meeting. In addition to that, I must elaborate and share that we do have members, administrators on staff that are connected, okay, with a virtual experience to really broaden the insight and their knowledge base with DEI and best practices, where it's a consortium of various districts partnering with us to shepherd the path. Priority number 2, establish curriculum teams to develop a scope of sequence. Develop respective scope and sequence documents for all intermediate and secondary core courses of study. Vertical articulation meetings. And we're going to be publishing a scope and sequence documents for our core subjects. And that was started, that began last year, most specifically in the mathematics and science department. This year, we're broadening into our 4 core subjects across the district with our middle school and high school academic departments. To achieve priority number 3, directors, teachers review tiers of intervention, provide professional development for teachers, staff to understand the MTSS plan. Teacher staff reflection for upgrades and revisions. We had our board action, and we appreciate you accepting this as a new plan that is in practice. So then we take a look at our next steps. So here we are in October, and already I'm scheduling meetings with principals in those respective buildings, because it's very, very important that we're tracking the development and the institution of these priorities. How are we getting there? So those meetings have been scheduled, and it'll be taking place quarterly throughout the year to collect some viable and important data. That data will be referenced to then plan ahead for the following school year. And again, we don't know whether we're going to be granted this money. So, you know, we're hoping that we make strides and we escape, okay, the notation that is here, CSI and TSI, the substantial money, though, that comes our way with this classification. In April or May 2023, meet with school district committees to evaluate and plan for the following school year. Questions?
Any questions on the board? Thank you, Dr. Galati.
Thank you.
So a few other items to share with the board and the community. First of all, since it is October, we do want to recognize the following history months: Filipino American, Italian American, LGBTQ+, Disability Employment Awareness Month, Polish American Heritage Month, German American Heritage Month as well. Today is also National Coming Out Day, and students and staff who chose to have been wearing the ribbons as well. And in addition to that, there's a few other items that I wanted to share out. So our STEM director, Ms. Campbell, has been working with the teams to develop a clearer form for recommendations for our 7th grade students, our AIS service letter to elementary parents, looking to streamline that as well. She has also visited the South Hole Garden and Greenhouse with a few of our staff members to learn from that, as that is our plan, as we would like to develop further edible gardens and eventually a greenhouse. She's also working on right now researching for esports, because it is something that we would like to bring into the district, and partnering with Peconic Bay Medical as well. So a lot of things going on with STEM. With the high school, the Blue Waves Morning News Show, The Wave debuted this morning and is running each day, the first 5 minutes of first period. Last year we kind of did like a test run, but this year we're really into full swing with it, so great job with the team for that. I also wanted to share that we had several students who were recognized with Nisquam All County. They are Ethan Caskey, Catherine Thompson, Brian Enos, Abigail Heck, Andrew Young, Rose Green. And we would like to congratulate the following students who have been acknowledged by the College Board. Maya Hopkins with the National African American Recognition Award, Jennifer Alonso Moreno for the National Hispanic Recognition Award, Kimberly Mendez for the National Hispanic Recognition Award. Christopher Arias was recognized as one of the Newsday's top 100 soccer players, and Colby Barron was recognized as one of Newsday's top 25 boys golfers for the fall 2022 season. Over at Riley, they are looking forward to Spirit Week and the upcoming book fair, which is sponsored by the Parents Association. That will be next week. The Ripley Ripples will be reading and wearing plenty of blue and white at the same time. over at Phillips Avenue on September 29th, we had 652 students and community members participate in the Phillips Avenue Color Run. Phillips Avenue also hosted an outdoor movie night on October 6th, where approximately 200 community members and students watched Casper to get into the Halloween spirit. And just a few final items. I was able to attend with Mr. Burke, the Town of Riverhead board, as they passed a resolution honoring PCF Garfield Langhorne. So it was a true pleasure to be there. And this past weekend on Sunday, I attended the Riverhead Country Fair. It was well attended. It was a beautiful day. Everybody had a great time. I was truly impressed not only with all the pumpkin designs, but the work that was judged regarding the eating for the contest. The one thing that I have to tell you that really stood out to me was in the young adults category, and I would love to find out who the person was because she did a great job. She made a peacock cake with the head of the peacock in the cake, and then she made cupcakes that were the tail feathers of the peacock. It was absolutely amazing, but it was really a wonderful day, so glad that I was able to attend that.
Thank you, Dr. Tonore. So we're going to move on to consent agenda. Can I get a motion to approve consent agenda? Thank you, Mr. Wallace. Can I get a second? Thank you, Mr. Hosky. Questions, comments, or concerns? All in favor? Motion passes.
At this time, we would like to congratulate Amanda Roncal as she's receiving tenure from the Board of Education. We want to thank the board for that, and we're very, very pleased that and to have this recognition for her.
Congratulations. Okay, we move on to, since there's no old business, move on to new business, excuse me. New business. Item A, approval for RCFA Step 3 Grievance Settlement Agreement. Can I get a motion?
Motion.
Thank you, Mr. Wallace. Can I get a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Downs. Questions, comments, or concerns? All in favor? Motion carries. Item B, approval of contracts for data security and privacy. Can I get a motion? Thank you, Ms. Downs. Can I get a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Wallace. Questions, comments, or concerns? All in favor? Motion carries. Item C, approval to sign an addendum to professional development contract with Heinemann to include Fontes and Pinnell literacy support. Can I get a motion? Thank you, Ms. Hosky. Can I get a second? Thank you, Ms. Downs. Questions, comments, or concerns?
I do. I have some, I've just been told, I know that we had earmarked some money through APPR ESSER for these professional development through Fontes Pinnell, and it was $32,000 a year for 3 years. So, you know, I'm just going through the math for just this year and looking at what we're doing. It's already $61,600. So where are we getting the extra money for the PD?
I'm going to have Dr. Asay respond.
So I did look at the grant and also the allocation, specifically for this vendor and everything else the district purchased from this vendor. We have spent about and allocate about $300,000. So we still have about another $300,000 left, at least to allocate for services and material for this with this vendor.
For this vendor? So
With this
you're-
vendor.
So where it was broken off PD, because I see there's a separate, I printed it off where they had broken it up, the earmarking. For PD, it said 32,000, you know, for each year, 32,000 times 3, so it was like 96,000. And then I know that there was a lot of other lines, and that was to buy, I guess, some of the curriculum. So you're using from those other lines, like that, from the kits and some other things that they,
Yeah, I don't remember exactly the breakdown between PD and all the other material that's being purchased from this vendor. Only thing I remember, the district have not spent about $300,000 so far with this vendor. We allocate about $600,000 plus for the
okay,
next
so
3
that's
years.
how, okay. So as everyone knows how I feel about Fontes and Pinnell, it does not meet the standards. And at Phillips, you had the American Reading Corporation, which does meet the standards. So that's, I'll be voting accordingly.
Okay. Any other comments or questions? All in favor? Opposed? Motion passes. Item D, approval of a contract with Dr. Roxanne Kafora as a keynote speaker at parent university assemblies focusing on personal wellness. Can I get a motion? Thank you, Ms. Downs. Can I get a second? Thank you, Ms. Ahosky. Questions, comments, or concerns? Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed? So carried. Motion carries. Passes. Item E, approval for an amendment to contract with Scope to include a Saturday enrichment program. Can I get a motion?
Motion.
Thank you, Mr. Wallace. Can I get a second? Thank you, Ms. Ahosky. Questions, comments, or concerns?
And this will be through the grant money for,
That is correct, yes.
Else? All in favor? Motion carries. Thank you. Sorry. Item F, approval of contracts with Council for Unity. Can I get a motion?
motion.
Thank you, Ms. Healy. Can I get a second? Thank you, Ms. Hosky. Questions, comments, or concerns? Seeing there are none, all in favor? Opposed? Motion passes. Item G, approval of contract with Heinemann for professional development at Roanoke Avenue Elementary School. Can I get a motion? Thank you, Ms. Downs. Can I get a second? Thank you, Ms. Hosky. Questions, comments, or concerns?
Again, does not meet the standards.
All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Item H, approval of award requests. Yes, approval of award requests for proposals for transportation efficiency study and electric vehicle feasibility study to Transport Group Incorporated. Can I get a motion? Thank you, Ms. Downs. Second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Wallace. Questions, comments, concerns? Seeing there are none, all in favor? Motion carries. Thank you. Item I, approval expenditures for varsity award dinners. Can I get a motion? Thank you, Ms. Ahosky. Can I get a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Healy. Questions, comments, or concerns? All in favor? Motion carries. Thank you. Item J, approval of EBLAR. Can I get a motion? Thank you, Ms. Downs. Can I get a second? Thank you, Ms. Healy. Questions, comments, or concerns? All in favor? Motion carries. Thank you. Item K, first reading of revised board policies, which will encompass board policies 0115, 2310, which is regular meeting. 0115 is student harassment and bullying prevention and intervention. Sorry. A lot of paper. 2340, notice of board meetings. 2360, minutes. 4325, academic intervention services. 5205, eligibility for co-curricular and extracurricular activities. 5225, student personal expression. 5300, Code of Conduct, and 9150, Staff-Student Relations, Fraternization.
Motion.
Thank you, Mr. Wallace. Second, thank you, Ms. Downs. Questions, comments, or concerns?
On the,
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Seeing no-
questions, comments, concerns. Okay, well, I'll show you what I was, for the code and conduct, that it's still showing, so I'll show that to you later what I'm talking about, just so that you have it for the second reading. And, because I'm not part of the committee, but thank you for this, the code 9150 for introducing that one, the staff-student relations. And I think when I read through it, otherwise that was it.
Anyone else? All in favor? Thank you, motion carries. Now moving on to item L, third and final reading, well, thank you, sorry. So item L, can I get a motion to renew item L, which is the third and final reading of the revised board policy, which is 4810, teaching about controversial issues?
Motion.
Thank you, Ms. Downs. Can I get a second? Thank you, Ms. Healy. Questions, comments, or concerns?
Yes. So I just wanted to be clear that voting yes and passing this policy about teaching about controversial issues, I just want to read this because I have some questions about some of the changes. The board establishes the following guidelines for teachers to follow when presenting controversial issues in the classroom. In the classroom, matters of controversial nature are permitted. That's number one. Number two, when presenting various positions on a controversial issue, in order for classroom discussion to be rigorous, the teachers will take care to balance major views, assure that as many sides of the issues as possible are presented in a fair manner, and not support one position as the only one acceptable. 3, grading is based on objective criteria without bias towards students' positions on the subject matter. 4, discussion of controversial issues is conducted in a manner that takes into account students' age and development level. Who is determining the readiness of the student? That's the question too. Okay.
Dr. Galati will be responding.
So the discretion lies with the teachers, because the teachers know the students best. Teachers know the maturity of the students that they are working with, that they're instructing. So we rely upon the teacher's discretion.
Okay, so teachers, number 5, teachers will present adequate background information so that students can have informed discussion and be able to discuss the issue intelligently. If it's a discussion that's happening because of something that was on the news earlier that morning, how is the teacher going to be prepared to discuss an issue? What preparation, like how are they going to, a teacher, how will they have preparation?
So if it is relevant to their curriculum, they are certainly knowledgeable how to handle what is of a current event and the significance to their curriculum and how it ties to their curriculum. Techniques teachers use, they can say, simply state, okay, let's hold off on this conversation for a later time where it is most appropriate to fit into the curriculum. And again, it goes back to the teachers clearly knowing the students that they instruct and having confidence in what they instruct.
Okay, so is there going to be some personal development on controversial issues?
Specific to controversial issues,
Yeah.
I'm going to say,
Because it's a very vague and general category.
Right. There is no such targeted professional development tied to that. But many of our teachers venture forth, going to Eastern Suffolk BOCES for curriculum development. That is tied in, especially with social studies, okay, with the controversial issues. And there are substantial changes that are taking place with our social studies curriculum. And many of our teachers, and I could speak to this from last year and most specifically this year, that they are venturing forth. That professional development is then turnkey and informed and trained within their colleagues under the leadership of our directors as well as our assistant principals at the high school.
So a math teacher is going to get the same personal development as the social studies teacher?
No, it's going to be tied to the specific curriculum. So the controversial issues are more tied to a social studies curriculum as opposed to a mathematics curriculum.
I understand, but
It could
that's not
also-
what this is saying, that it's,
It's very generic.
right, and that anyone could discuss a controversial issue in their classroom
But there-
regardless
there-
of,
Right, but there's a time and place to discuss that. And it's to the discretion of our exceptional teachers to conduct those lessons appropriately.
okay. And then you also mentioned the policy here mentions the guidelines to reflect the community values. What are the community values? It says right here that the district, I can read the whole thing. The board wishes to ensure that controversial issues are presented in a manner that preserves the academic integrity of the district, are of significant interest to the community, have political, economic, cultural, or social significance, and encourages students to come to their own opinion while respecting the opinions of others, and promotes exclusivity and dignity for all students while reflecting community values. I just was curious what they are.
I would think, Mr. Gallardi, correct me, or anybody, I would think that's just like me and you do. We've got different views on things. We get along. We don't argue about them, we discuss
I'm
them.
not discussing a debate or a discussion. I'm asking what,
It's just in general, in the classroom, if a subject comes up, the teacher tries to cut it down, 2 kids, they're trying to keep it.
no, I
all
understand the procedure and how debate and discussion of controversial
debate would be
issues work.
different, correct?
I'm not talking, okay, take out debate. I understand how a discussion of a controversial issue happens. I'm asking specifically, it says here that we will be reflecting community values. I'm just trying to get a sense of what the community values are that are going to be reflected.
Well, the community values are most specifically showing respect and being open and being a listener, but ultimately showing respect for having multiple sides, multiple views, and outcomes.
And to add on to that, the great thing about Riverhead is that it is a diverse community with different viewpoints. So we want to celebrate the diversity and provide the opportunity to allow everybody to share their thoughts, but to also share opposing thoughts as well. And in my personal experience as a social studies teacher, whenever I would bring up a controversial issue in the classroom with students, I would always say, this is what this side feels, this is what this side feels, and then the students would always ask me, what do you think? And I'd say, it doesn't matter what I think, it's what you think. So it's always then projecting the questions back on the students for them to think deeper about the different viewpoints and for them to come up with their own opinion on items.
Sure, thank you. And I really do understand how that all unfolds. I'm just trying to identify that a social studies teacher might have, like you said, a different personal training than a math teacher. So if a controversial issue comes up in a math class because of something that happened in the hallway or in the bathroom or on the bus or on television that day or in their home at breakfast, how is the math teacher skilled to discuss the issue versus the social studies teacher who has probably, and not, but curriculum-based is what you're saying, a broader knowledge and ability to discuss that in their classroom?
So I think that it's more about like what Dr. Galati was saying about the respect. So say, for example, if something does happen in the hallway and it involves a controversial topic or discussion and it spills into the classroom, and say it is in the math classroom, it does provide, the policy does provide the math teacher to be able to hear the students, bring up their side, but then also say, well, what do you think the opposing view might be? And it may not be anything related to math, but they do have the ability to say, you know, I'm here to listen, to share what you have to say, as long as you do it in a respectful manner, and then other students can present their opinion on it, and then they would be able to move on into their curriculum if it's something, for example, that might have just happened or might have been on the news that day.
Right, so the teachers are all going to get some type of statement of, or how they're going to address this when this comes up in their classroom. Like they're going to be prepared, maybe it's not going to happen in a math classroom, but they're going to be prepared to say what you just said, to deflate or...
Sure, and I would say additionally that all teachers do go through a training process, and it's not just on curriculum. And because we do have our DEI plan and the work that we do with Eastern Suffolk BOCES, we do have staff, all staff are trained and also with restorative practices. So these are all items that we have brought in to ensure that, again, everybody is respected, everybody is allowed to express their viewpoints, and that we listen to one another. But it's also, again, important to always share that this may be one person's viewpoint, but we have to take into account that everybody comes to the table with various viewpoints. And the policies are very vague in general in that respect, because policies usually do allow for the ability to navigate through different situations. So we could discuss this evening about 10 or 20 different scenarios that might come up in the classroom, but then tomorrow there may be something that happens in the classroom that we aren't thinking about. But it's always that stress of respect, and that is something that we do provide with professional development, and that is certainly our expectation with all staff and with all students, is that we do respect one another's differences, and two people could be on opposing viewpoints and still be best friends. And that's okay, because that's what's great about being an American. So that's really what the policy is referring to. But we would never advocate one sole view on an item. And we do allow our students to develop deep thinking by looking at different viewpoints and gaining different understandings of various people's experiences. And then when the students have those conversations, they could then think, well, maybe I may look at something differently, or I may still continue and believe in my thought process. But with the policy, it does allow for those conversations, but like Dr. Galati was saying, it's really all tailored around the culture of Riverhead, which is respect, and I see people accepting one another throughout the whole community and working with one another, and engaging in those relationships with one another, which is a wonderful thing.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Okay. All in favor of renewing the motion to be voted, we're going to vote on this again. So this is just to put the motion back up. So all in favor? Yes, well, I'm going to call for a vote. That's just
Is it the third
prefacing what's
reading?
going to happen. All in favor?
This was just to put it back on.
Or just put it back on for a vote?
Yeah, put it back up. Opposed? Motion carries. So now it will be, it doesn't move, we just could just do it right again, right? Okay. Just like it's on the agenda. Now back to item L. Third and final reading of revised board policy, which is 4810, teaching about controversial issues. Can I get a motion? Thank you, Ms. Downs. Can I get a second? Thank you, Ms. Ahosky. Questions, comments, or concerns? Okay, seeing none, all in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Now we move on to item H, approval of field trips. We have, for one of our students that had the NISMA All-State Festival and Conference in Rochester in December. Awesome. And we have our high school chamber orchestra, jazz ensemble, chamber choir, wind ensemble attend the World Strides On-Stage Festival in Washington, D.C. in April. I got to do that with my freshmen. That was actually a really, really cool experience. So awesome for them. Can I get a motion?
Motion.
Thank you, Ms. Wallace. Can I get a second? Thank you, Ms. Hosky. Questions, comments, or concerns? All in favor? Thank you. Motion carries. Now we move on to item N, approval of donations. We have a donation of $500 from Target to Dita Tisham to be used towards the Achievement Academy students. We also have a grant donation of $1,000 to Lisa Knapp, teacher at Roanoke Avenue School, to purchase math supplies, manipulatives, math journals, etc. Can I get a motion?
Motion.
Thank you, Ms. Wallace. Can I get a second?
Second?
Thank you, Ms. Healy. Questions, comments, concerns?
No,
Seeing
thank
it is
you.
done, all in favor? Motion passes. Okay, opportunity for board members. Committee reports.
Yes, want me to start, or you go?
Yeah, you can go ahead.
Yeah. A for audit. Yes, sorry. Can you hear me? Okay, we met September 28th, members present. This is for the audit committee. Am I loud enough?
Yeah, go ahead.
Dr. Tonatori, Dr. Essay, myself, and Chris Storr. Colin Palmer was absent. All right. Financial documents must be updated and prepared by the financial staff for the external audit. The external audit has to be completed in October. The audit committee and external auditors must meet in October to discuss the 21-22 external audit. The treasurer's reports have to be delayed for June, July, and August 2022 until the financial records are audited and completed in accordance with the NICED requirements. The audit committee is scheduled to have monthly and quarterly meetings. September, December, March, and June are the quarterly meetings. The draft budget development calendar was reviewed. The budget development calendar will be followed and changed as necessary. District officials and board members must continue discussions on New York's transition to all-electric school buses and the impact it will have on the district. The routing system and bus schedules must be reviewed and revised to ensure the bus drivers are arriving on time to the schools. The administration has to work with a transportation expert to study the efficiency of the operations in transportation, which includes cost analyses, the 10-month regular school year home-to-school services, including special education and non-public schools, 2-month summer school services, 10-month athletics, extracurricular and field trip services, ridership, fleet management, and energy and environmental efficiency. That's the zero-emission school bus mandate. The Audit Committee discussed the 2023-24 budget development process and is scheduled to continue to review and improve it. The 2023-24 budget development calendar and rollover have to start now in order to maintain communication among the administration board and the schools. The Audit Committee is arranging meetings every month through December and following the 2023-24 budget development calendar to establish objectives and targets, develop a detailed budget, compiled financial analysis, and make recommendations.
Yeah, there you go.
This is the Health and Safety Committee meeting minutes. It was held on September 14th. It was well attended by, Virginia Healy was there, and then the Roanoke Principals, Director of Safety and Security, Riverhead Fire District, Riverhead Police Department, Director of Personnel, Director of Facilities, Assistant Principals at Riley, Principal at Phillips, Chief Custodian at Pulaski, Assistant Principal at the high school, teachers from Riley Middle School, High School, and BOCES, Middle School Principal, School Nurse, Director of Athletics, and teachers from Aquabog and high school, and the RCFA president. The summary from the security department: the district emergency plan was presented to the Board of Education and public for approval. Building level emergency plans will be distributed next week and shared with the local law enforcement. COVID update: the district is following the guidelines set by the New York State Department of Health and NYSED. If a person tests positive, they are to isolate for 5 days starting from the day that they tested positive. Proof of a positive test result must be submitted to either Terry Colleen, Christine Ackley, or Christine Peters. Employees are entitled to 3 occurrences of COVID paid sick time effective from the start of the pandemic. If an employee has more than 3 occurrences, they will need to use their personal sick time. When returning to work after COVID, the employee must wear a mask for 5 days. No contact tracing will be conducted. Ms. Reisenberg stated that the Department of Health is recommending masks. She asks if the district can provide masks for students and staff when necessary. Mr. Colleen and Mr. Galino will ask Dr. Tornatore if the district could order more masks. Dr. Tornatore has approved the ordering of additional masks. Security updated the Board of Education, approved 4 additional guard positions. The current guards are doing an amazing job, so thank you. They really care about the students. It's difficult to hire substitute guards because the salary is low and the location of the district. The guard booth and rail fence by the high school help to control access to the parking lot and improve security. Mr. Colleen is working with the Riverhead Police Department to resolve the traffic issues in front of the middle school, particularly during dismissal time. The Riverhead Police Department is short-staffed with crossing guards. Capital project: grant money will cover the cost of updating cameras at the high school, middle school, and Pulaski Street School. Door sensors and strobe lights will be installed. There will be card access on the main doors for faculty and staff. Cyber attack: the Suffolk County government experienced a cyber attack last week. All computers and websites were shut down. Summary from the Facilities Department: BOCES contract: Kristen Nanina from BOCES is working with Al Galina to provide on-site support for health and safety issues. A representative will come to the district 1 day a month to make assessments. They will also assist with asbestos testing. Previously, this work was completed by an outside company. By utilizing BOCES, the district will receive state aid, which will save money. The first project is to assess the AED equipment throughout the district to ensure that the equipment is working properly and making necessary upgrades or changes. In Aquabog, walkways were installed on the west side of the building with ADA access requirements. The High School Achievement Academy has new walkways to make it safer for students. Bathrooms at the high school, Phillips Avenue School, and Pulaski Street School have been updated and are ADA compliant. Ms. Menace asked about the doors at Riley. She's concerned with security because the doors are older and have wood louvers. Many classroom doors have been replaced, but not the third grade wing. Mr. Galina said he would look into it. She also stated that next to her classroom, the bathroom door bangs against the wall. Mr. Galina will take care of it. Mr. Galina explained that some locks have non-duplicating keys. They have to be sent to the locksmith to make copies. Currently, there is a key shortage. The company is waiting for the material. Some of the new classroom doors have locks that can be used the same key to lock it from inside the classroom. As a reminder, classroom doors should not be propped open. Emergency windows need to be cleared. No plants or books, anything near the emergency windows. And the vision panels need to be clear. No paper on the windows or doors because they are flammable. The Board of Education has hired a new architect, H2M. They will be making assessments and working on an energy performance contract. They will look at the old bathrooms as well. Ms. Samoas asked if the water fountain could be turned on. Mr. Galina said not at the time because the COVID cases are increasing. But have been turned on, I'm told. Since September 14th, they have been turned on. Transportation Department summary. Mr. Moore was not able to attend, and Mr. Moore were not able to attend the meeting. They were resolving school bus routing issues. School bus drills will take place in September. Drills that were scheduled last week were canceled due to inclement weather. Next meetings are Wednesday, November 16th, Wednesday, February 15th, Wednesday, April 12th, I'm assuming 2023, not 2022. And the meeting adjourned at 5 p.m. Thank you.
All right, so for facilities, we met on August 24th. We discussed the electric buses, just some brief discussion with Dr. Asay, and we actually had a meet and greet with the new architect firm, H2M. Some of this stuff that Ms. Sahowski just talked about is like some of the projects that were done over the summer. We discussed some of them, which was bathrooms that were worked on, district office was moved, PPS was moved, the new classroom space was all completed. So the buildings and ground crew really did a phenomenal job, getting that all done for us, and we want to thank them for that. And then, we ended that meeting, and now I have a Wellness Committee report. This was done on September 13th. We talked about the food services. So for the year of 21-22, we served over 247,000 breakfasts, 468,000 lunches. That's a record for Riverhead schools. It's more than double what we did the previous year. And we want to commend the food service workers who are also understaffed for getting that all completed. That was an incredible accomplishment by them. We talked about the CEP review, in which the USDA waiver for free breakfast and lunch for students has ended. However, our students will continue to still receive free breakfast and lunch through the CEP program. Even though it's not necessary for our parents to fill out the applications, we still encourage them to do so, so it will help with future programs for the district. In addition, with the CEP school program, we want to encourage, they'll offer home internet access through the Affordable Connectivity Program. Some projects through the Capital Reserve, Cafeteria Capital Reserve, that would discuss was walk-in refrigerator at Phillips, 2 milk coolers at Riley, and 2 warming units for Riverhead High School. And there is still some supply chains issues, so sometimes the menus will change from time to time depending on what we can get from the vendors. And also, I commended, or I thanked Mr. Graham on behalf of the Touchdown Club because the first football game, we were light on some of the materials we needed, trays and stuff in the food trailer. But he was able to get that taken care of for us. Special education and PPS, we discussed nurses for the charter school, and there was interviews done, and that's all, those positions have been filled. The district was working with the guidance and special education departments to clarify roles of guidance counselors and social workers. And Rethink Ed, let's see here. We have constructed monthly themes and scopes and sequent partnership with Rethink so that all schools are aligned with the wellness, social-emotional learning topics are concerned. We will be implementing wellness benchmarks for students grades 3 through 12 to determine their social and emotional well-being and plan next steps in SEL introduction and offer assistance in accordance with MTSS as necessary. And the meeting was adjourned there shortly after. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Well, we have one more. We have the policy committee meeting, which met on September 15th, I believe, Dr. Galati. And Dr. Galati is in charge of that committee. It's made up of myself, Ms. Downs, and Mr. Palmer. I'm sorry, I apologize. There are a lot of policies here. We have the pamphlet, a lot of corrections. If you want to speak on them, or I just want to say that it's written down. Even better. So for a lot of our policies are pretty old, and I want to give Dr. Galati a lot of credit for going through and basically updating them for various reasons. You know, coming into 2022, some of them haven't been touched since the 90s, 2013 and 12. Some of them well over 10 years. And, you know, when they were added, it was just to add, you know, pronouns. It wasn't, there was no, if that makes sense. I'm sorry, I'll read my minutes. Policy meeting minutes, December 15th, 2022. Video conferencing. The NYSBA amendments to the state open meeting law now allows for video conferencing under extraordinary circumstances where remote locations do not need to be open to the public. A resolution must be passed by the board after a public hearing, and written procedures must be developed. Policy 2310, regular meetings, is a policy as recommended and also an update recommended. We have revised this policy to cross-reference the separate policy on video conferencing of board meetings. Video conferencing is not limited to regular meetings, so the revision would be the change of verbiage of shall to will. Emphasis in the policy now supports persons with disabilities. Move on to policy 2325, which is video conferencing of board meetings. It's a new policy recommendation. We have developed this new policy to address the requirements of open meeting laws regarding video conferencing, where the option has been exercised by the board by resolution adopted after a public hearing. Note that written procedure are required, which could take the form of this policy or attached to it as a regulation. The revision would read that this is a new policy as determined by the policy committee for purposes of increased involvement of BOE members, involvement as volunteers of the community when not able to attend in-person meetings. Policy 2340, notice of board meetings. This is a policy recommendation, also an update, currently not in our manual. We have revised this policy to reflect the notice requirements where video conferencing is used at board meetings. The revision would say, this policy is a combined policy with 2310, regular and special meetings and notices. This comes recommended by NYSBA in conjunction with sample and our policy 2310 for review. So now on to policy 2360, minutes. Policy recommendation, update recommended. We have revised this policy to reflect the minutes requirements where video conferencing is used at board meetings. This is a result of previous policy updates based on other policy revisions. There was some change in verbiage from shall to will. Increased public oversight of BOE minutes is also addressed. Okay, we're getting there. Student freedom of expression. NYSBA states a recent Supreme Court case, Mahoney Area School District versus BL, addressed student freedom of expression outside the school setting. While our sample policies did not need much modification, we urge you to review with your attorney any provisions in the policy, regulations, student handbooks, and training rules that may differ from our samples or being consistent with this ruling. So policy 0115, student harassment and bullying prevention intervention. It's policy required, update recommended. We have revised a background note to address the Supreme Court ruling and have updated the legal citations. This body of the policy itself does not need revision. So the revision is the policy addresses recent Supreme Court rulings and updated legal citations. The body of this policy does not need revision. The policy reflects provisions and requirements of the Dignity for All Students Act and the Commissioner's regulations, including changes made under the Crown Act. In addition, the policy makes clear that off-campus activity, specifically cyberbullying, can constitute harassment that is prohibited by law. So we move on to policy 5205, eligibility for co-curricular and extracurricular activities. So also recommended, policies recommended and update recommended. We have provided additional background notes on handling student behavior as it pertains to student personal expression, a citation to the Supreme Court ruling on this topic, and a statement regarding non-discrimination. So the revision from NYSBA is the policy clearly addresses handling student behavior as it pertains to student personal expression under the First Amendment and recent court cases. The Board of Ed has the right to address a minimum grade point average or simply state passing most of all classes to participate in co-curricular or extracurricular activities. Policy 5225, student personal expression. Yes. Or did I do that already? Yeah, thank you. Sorry, I apologize. Policy 5300.30, prohibited student conduct. Policy required, update recommended. Suggested revisions include addressing off-campus behavior, a background note regarding implementation, and a citation to Supreme Court ruling. Revision, the Code of Conduct will be referred to as the Code of Character, Conduct, and Support. Under section, was that 12, right? Under section 12, the following statement, teachers and administrators have the right to request that cell phones not be permitted in class during the school day. Cell phone guidance will be distributed by building leaders at the onset of the school year. In addition, the policy reflected minor change in subsection S, a subsection H on student off-campus behavior. Furthermore, the policy will be modified to address smoking and other tobacco use and use of electronic cigarettes, including vaping, including cannabis is prohibited by law in school buildings, on school grounds, and in school vehicles. This policy reflects the requirements by law. Policy requested to be reviewed. 4325, academic intervention services. The second sentence in the first paragraph will be replaced with such services may include additional instruction supplementing the instruction provided in the general curriculum and/or student support services, such as guidance, counseling, attendance, study skills, and/or progress monitored by the student's subject-specific teacher to support improved academic performance. That was a lot. Policy 9150, and the last one. Staff-student relations, fraternization. This policy is not in our manual, so the new policy, as this is a new policy for the Riverhead Central School District, the policy committee has selected to review policies from NYSBA. It has also been determined by the policy committee that the policy currently in use in the Babylon Union Free School District will be adopted as the same by the Riverhead Central School District. All right, thank you. And Dr. Lai, thank you again for going. It's a lot of work.
You're welcome.
Okie dokie, so I have to read a statement. I was asked to read a statement from Colin Palmer because he was unable to attend tonight. And he writes, October 11th, 1987 marked the National March on Washington for lesbian and gay rights. Since then, this anniversary has been celebrated as National Coming Out Day, a day of support for members of the queer community. Throughout the 50-plus years of the American Pride movement, much progress has been made, but ignorance and hatred still seek to divide us. With recent attempts at silencing queer voices in other learning schools, the Riverhead School District and community at large must continue to support students of all genders and sexualities.
Thank you, Ms. Downs. Are there any more board members, comments or
Yes,
remarks?
I'll keep it short. October is Dyslexia Awareness Month, and for those of us that have children and family members, it's every month, every day. Saturday, October 15, 2022, is World Dyslexia Day. People throughout the world wear red to celebrate the talents and strengths of the individuals working hard to overcome the challenges that dyslexia presents. And the Riverhead SEPTA had asked that I would ask people in our district to acknowledge World Dyslexia Day on Friday, October 14th, by encouraging students and staff to wear red to school. And any pictures celebrating that dyslexia awareness, to send it to Mrs. Scudder. You'll see her on Riverhead SEPTA. And that's it, so thank you.
Okay, anyone else? Yes, no? Okay, so move on to opportunity for RCFA. Do we have anything?
I'll keep it quick. 1-1 in the Yankee game, just so you know. But we do really appreciate the school board, the RCFA does. We don't always appreciate every decision you make, but all in all, we feel as if we have a partner that's trying to move Riverhead forward. And thank you for all the dedication and time you give to the district.
Thank you, Ms. Butterfield. Opportunity for Ra?
Mr. Payton sent in a statement. He wanted to let us know that Rob will not have an update tonight, but they concede their time this evening.
Now we're going to open the floor, opportunity for public.
Greg Fisher, Calverton. On the back of Mrs. Tenenberg's testimony before on whether we're going to get Riverhead Town to submit the paperwork necessary for us to get the pilots from LIPA for tax reduction purposes. Do we have any update on that for this year's pilots and apparently last year's pilots? Or do we have to dig in our pockets?
So Mr. Fisher, right now, there's approximately a little under $3 million that is owed to the district for last year,
Right.
and as well as for this year, for a
Right.
total of approximately a little bit under $6 million. As of now, the district did send a demand letter to the town and to LIPA, and we do have a waiting period, so we need to give them the opportunity to respond before I would work with the board in discussing further options. So we do anticipate, hopefully, that once LIPA does respond, that they will be issuing a check for last year's amount. And then after that, we will then enter into a discussion of moving ahead regarding the process of collecting the funds for this year as well.
Does it look like it's going to make it in time before you have to determine what the tax levy is?
So the board already did determine the tax levy.
Without that amount, without those amounts?
So the amount the tax levy has been lowered to adjust for hopefully the collection of those funds. So, the board and I are very much aware of the current economic climate, inflation, et cetera. So we really do hope that we are able to continue with a more conservative tax levy increase, as well as collecting the funds from LIPA. We have had correspondence between LIPA and the town, and LIPA has indicated that they are willing to pay. So we are very hopeful that we will be able to collect the funds from last year. and then pursue collecting the funds for this year as well.
No, as good as could be expected for 11th hour. Thank you very much.
Good evening, everybody. Dr. Tortori, I take you as a very, very smart man, and your decisions are not taken lightly, and I think you think about your decisions wholeheartedly. The decision you made to me to bring Mr. Brown back to Roanoke Avenue and not Mr. Crump was a direct slap in the face to Phillips Avenue School, to the staff, the faculty, to students, and to myself. You know very, very well we've been trying to get Mr. Crump back to that school. I came here couple weeks ago with the kids, and I was very cordial and very nice, but I'm not very nice tonight. I'm very upset. We've been doing very, very well at that school with the staff that we have, but you can tell Mr. Crump's presence is needed. We've had a couple of outside events. We had the color run, and we had the movie with Casper, and Mr. Crump is dearly missed. We are a very, very large school. We have a lot of students. We need a little bit more help. We need a little bit more of our people that understand our community, and we need Mr. Crump back. I know that we're sitting here tonight and we're talking about all the good things that Riverhead has to offer, and I think we really are moving in the right direction. I really hope so. And everybody is equal, and everybody is present, and everybody is accounted for. But I really feel like some of the staff that you have and the people that work here are not spoken for. A lot of them speak to me personally about some of the issues that go on here, and they feel that they cannot speak because they're afraid of their job or their tenure, or they not be able to, go to work and hold their head up because they're not allowed to speak and speak their mind. Well, I'm here to tell you that they're coming to me. This Mr. Crump thing isn't just about Mr. Crump anymore. It's about everybody that works here that doesn't have a voice. And I'm their voice, and they've realized that because I am not subject to any policies. I'm not subject to anything but my own free will. And I'm here to tell you that we need Mr. Crump back at Phillips Avenue School right away. I thought you got the hint last week when I came here and I told you that Mr. Brown went back, and I said, that wasn't very cool that Mr. Brown got to go back and Mr. Crump didn't. There's no difference between the two. We miss Mr. Crump just as much as the kids at Roanoke did for Mr. Brown, even more so, because we always feel like we're kind of pushed over to the corner. Now, I'm going to keep coming to these things, and I got a lot of minutes and a lot of time to keep speaking for the people that have been calling me and texting me and telling me what's going on. Now, I appreciate what this board does, and this school district is like no other I've ever seen. We've got a lot of great people and a lot of great staff, and we need our people where we need them, and we have to listen to the people that are running this school. Could you imagine if 100 people that run this school every single day just walked off the job and left and just didn't come to work? Imagine that. The people that work here are the heartblood of this school, and you need to start listening to them, not just the students, but your staff. And when your staff says something and something's not right, you have to listen to them. And one thing you could do is bring Mr. Crump back to Phillips Avenue School. Please, sir. If I have to come back in the next 2 weeks, so be it. But I would really like to see him return to Phillips Avenue School. Thank you very much. God bless Riverhead High School and the community. Thank you.
Hello, Amanda Applebug, Amanda Gall, sorry. Just a few things, a few quick questions. I do want to start off with something good. Just want to let you know that the middle school under the new administration, talking to the students, feels like a much safer, happier place to be. The morale inside of that school is much better than it has been in the last few years that kids have been there. So thank you to the administration there. They're doing great. Couple questions I had, and I know I sent an email to the Board of Ed and Dr. Tonatori. We have to address the field issues of grown men jumping the fence field and being allowed to play on the turf while our other students are playing on fields where their ankles are rolling and not being okay and watching men play on the field, on the turf field. That should never happen. Busing issues. I know we used to contract out buses for sports. However, this year I'm noticing that times are getting later and later. For instance, next week we have a field hockey game that's away at 5 o'clock. That will be cut short because it's going to be dark because we were told there were no buses. That can't happen either. That's gotta be fixed. Now on to another issue, the social emotional learning that you brought up in going over. where is that starting and where is that ending? Does this mean that my small child in elementary school will be taught about gender identity and all of these issues? Does that fall under this controversial issues? And is that something the parents are going to be notified of ahead of time?
Okay, so I'll address the responses in order of,
Okay.
of,
I know
of
it's
how you
not.
presented them.
I wasn't planning on talking. I don't.
No. So first of all, thank you, because we are also very pleased with the middle school team that we worked so hard to, with the search and with our committees and really bringing in top-notch administrators to help transform the middle school. So thank you for that recognition. The situation with residents playing on the fields, it's been an ongoing issue. We've explored different avenues. We did take a look at if we did have security patrol the fields for a elongated period of time after the school day, and the costs, unfortunately, it prevents us from really being able to move ahead at the time with that. Certainly, Dr. Asay and I will take a look as we budget for next year to see how we could try to address it further. I definitely agree that our students should always have the top priority with the fields over non-students. And certainly in conversations with Mr. Sachs, we will continue to look at solutions of how to rectify that problem. Regarding the busing, again, that is something that we are looking, with the transportation study that was approved this evening, to move ahead and be able to fix the numerous issues that have presented themselves in the transportation department. Dr. Asay and I have been meeting with the co-directors, and he will have ongoing meetings with them. And we are looking into correcting the issues that have presented themselves with athletics. We also are dismayed that there's been some shifts that have been made for our athletes, and we are attempting to correct that. But in addition to the general transportation issues that we have faced here, we also are dealing with a nationwide problem where we cannot find enough people to be able to fulfill the roles and the spots for transportation. But that is something that we are going to continue to look into. And as far as our SEL program through Rethink Ed, that is strictly about social emotional learning. So it's really, the focus is on, for example, students dealing with anxiety and different ways in which they could self-control behavior. So that if they are in a situation where they're feeling very anxious, and instead of responding in a way that's going to be harmful to another student or to themselves, with the programming that we have through Rethink Ed, it's to help them alleviate that.
Okay.
It has absolutely nothing to do with anything with gender identity, or
So
any
that's not
items
being
like that.
implemented. I know surrounding schools are doing that. That's why I just want to know if we're doing that here.
Yeah, absolutely. That is
Okay.
not at all what social emotional learning
Okay.
is about at Riverhead. And again, it's for us to be able to help students and parents and guardians, because the reason why we chose Rethink Ed is because it has that parental component as well.
Okay.
So sometimes, and I know even talking to my friends that, there's handbooks out there about parenting, but, things come up in life, and sometimes parents really struggle. So with Rethink Ed, we do offer that component so that parents themselves could look at little tutorials if they are in a situation at home, and how could I try to make this situation better with my child and with me and with the family. So that's really what Rethink Ed is all about.
Okay. And then on the controversial issues, though, as Ms. Zahosky was asking earlier, how are the teachers determining what developmental age? Because something that's brought up in my 9-year-old's class, maybe she went to school because she heard her 16-year-old brother talk about it. How is that teacher addressing that in the elementary level versus something that's being brought up at the high school level? And how are those teachers, like, are we talking about these in kindergarten, first, second, third, fourth grade, controversial issues that, all kids watch TV. That's, maybe some don't, mind you. how are we addressing that? And how are teachers given the tools to know how to address that?
Sure. So, as students are of an older age, a topic can be discussed in a much deeper level, and it could be examined, and there could be conversations on a much more detailed level than something would be, say, on an elementary level. On an elementary level, for example, the teacher might even say, that's not really something that, we'll discuss in class, or or if they do discuss something, it might be just very, very general, and they would not get into it as a deep level as they would on the high school level, for example. But in addition with the policy, it also has regarding guest speakers or going into controversial issues involving the administration. So certainly our teachers do have conversations with the principals, the assistant principals, with our directors as well, if something does come up. And, any of us could always say, you know what, maybe we're not going to discuss that in class, or we could talk about it, but let me speak to let me speak to the principal first.
And
of
will
that
we be
nature.
informed of that? Will the parents be informed if something's brought up in an elementary class?
So, with all honesty, I would have to say that I'm not aware that any of those conversations have even taken place really on the elementary level. But if a conversation is brought up, I know myself as a teacher, when there were certain things that we discussed in class, I would reach out to the parents. I would call them and let them know. So our teachers do have the ability to email, call and share as well. But we haven't really been experiencing, to the best of my knowledge, any really controversial issues, really aside from the high school level, I would say.
Yeah, and that's why I was just asking, because I didn't hear about that, so I just wanted.
Oh, no, absolutely. I mean, these are all great questions.
And again, it's people texting me saying, ask this, 'cause
No,
I'm the
absolutely,
scapegoat.
absolutely. And I would strongly encourage that if any parent or guardian ever has a question, to reach out to the teacher first, engage in the conversation with the teacher. But they're also welcome to reach out to the building principal if they ever have any questions, or any members in cabinet as well. I mean, we certainly do like to respond as soon as we're able to regarding emails or phone calls.
Yeah. And for what it's worth, Mr. Crump is great at the middle school, and they really need him there more. He brings the morale up of the students. So I know that goes against some, but you need to know he is wanted there and needed there. So thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Yes? No? All right. Can I get a motion to adjourn? Thank you, Mr. Wallace. Second. Thank you, Ms. Downs. Questions, comments, concerns? All in favor? Motion carries. Thank you, everyone, coming out tonight. We'll see you on the 25th of this month. Let's go Yankees.
Please help support the Riverhead Central School District YouTube channel by subscribing. If you are not already subscribed to this channel, please be sure to push that subscribe button and click the bell to receive notifications. Thank you.